You're welcome back. And up next is newspaper review.
All right, newspaper review is set. Abuja.
Yes.
Good to see you.
How are you?
I'm all right.
I was almost squeezing my face on a little blemish on production, but we're good to go, I want to think.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Victor?
I'm okay.
You always look okay, except if those clothes are deceptive.
Appearance can be deceptive sometimes, you know.
Do you mind my
Am I okay? I look okay, but am I okay?
It's the light.
Suddenly I want to become a young man and affluent like you because you have a little cash.
Check out the shoes.
You've done your time. Well, let's begin with the leadership this morning. And just above the nameplate, Iran president feared dead in chopper crash. Well, information available, that was as at yesterday. Information available now is that the Iranian president is confirmed dead in that chopper crash. And the lead story here reads, despite strikes, falling standards, 67 varsities produce 6,464 first-class graduates in 3 years. You can get details of that story on page 4. Has two riders. Experts attribute trend to technology. Others. Stakeholders seek adequate funding, vocational skills. And then just above that story, you have a tiny one there. Northwest APC voids Ganduje, Jaji, others suspension. That's on page 7 for keen followers of politics. We also have 28 million housing deficit. Stringent policies impeding home ownership. For details, get the leadership and go to page 7. Manchester City, for sports lovers, win historic 4th straight English Premier League title. You get that on page 31. Bandits kill 6 farmers in Kaduna village. That's on page 16. Army foils coup attempt in DR Congo. You can get that on page 7. And resettled Borno residents were dying of hunger. You can get that on page 16. And off we go to the Nigerian pilot, which leads with the major headline. Black Sunday. As articulated vehicle driver loses control, kills over 25 passengers in Imo. Vehicle rammed into 4 different buses along Imo University Junction. The vehicle carrying stones was alleged to have been on high speed before the accident. And finally, there was no presence of security operatives for rescue operations at the scene. That's according to residents, and you can find all of that on page 4. And just below that story, you have Army rescues 386 captives after 10 years in Sambisa Forest. Incredible. That's on page 4. Insecurity. Kogi governor approves immediate employment of local hunters. That's on page 6. Oba of Benin excited over return of looted ancestral stools. You get that as well on page 6. India-based Nigerian couple wanted for running cocaine cartel. That's according to NDLEA. And you can find that on page 5. And this one says, search continues on crashed helicopter carrying Iranian president. Of course, we have an update on that. Plateau State launches war against substandard drugs. That one is on page 4. And finally, FARC allocations set up drags 36 governors, FCT minister to court. You can get details on page 5. Do you mind?
Yeah, we have the Blueprint newspaper, and you've read some of the headlines.
Yeah.
You know, in the leadership and the other paper. Yes, and let's go above the masthead. You've heard that the helicopter carrying Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi crash lands, and we've had confirmation that he and the others on the helicopter have lost their lives. They are dead. So the world is still reeling from the impact of this news. And just below the Blueprint newspaper, 27,000 Niger women embrace self-injection contraceptive method. Find details on page 9. And in business, Dangote warns against Africa's over-reliance on raw material exports. Details on page 23. And the heartbreaking story is Man City win EPL for record 4th consecutive time. So sorry, Arsenal, we lost. And the headlines, 10 years after troops rescue 386 from Sambisa forest. And NAF now forced to reckon with. That's coming from the Chief of the Air Staff, Abubakar. Northeast governments lament poor state of FG's infrastructure in region, with rider regret exclusion from PMS to compressed gas transition. And below the masthead, just below the picture story you're seeing there, FCT, bandits invade Dede, kidnap 4, many injured. Details on page 6. Germany, Nigerian trade relations hit 3 billion euros. That's coming from the European Union envoy. Details on page 18. DR Congo Army foils coup attempt. You find all about that on page 10. And at the bottom plate, electricity tariff, schools, small businesses embrace solar energy. You find all about that on page 18. Chukudi.
Right.
Let me, look, we should be talking Finidi George these days. But let me quickly say this, because I'm not going to let it disturb us at all. Last season, Man City got 89 points. Arsenal got 84. Man City were 5 goals better. Just yesterday, Man City scored 91 points. It was 89 for Arsenal. Goals equal. With not for Arsenal. The boys are coming.
Yeah,
Let's not talk too much on that, please. Finidi George is more of our concern.
Okay.
We must qualify for the next
Well, let's head to Iran first.
Iran. Okay. Raisi, the death of Raisi, that is.
Ibrahim Raisi
Let me
is Foreign Affairs Minister,
Yes.
and I think a total of 9 persons on
Yes,
board.
it's a very, very gloomy day for the world, not just Iran, please.
No, not just
John Donne, remember, do not send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee as well. The death of one man means that a part of the whole has just been removed.
At a point in time like this.
Yes.
No.
And Raisi was quite relevant. Yes, Khamenei is the supreme leader, is the man whom the bulk really rests on his table in terms of these. But Raisi was quite, So we say, may God, accept their souls. And the people of Iran should be consoled.
And the number one diplomat too died in the helicopter crash.
It's really unfortunate.
We spent the whole night just going from one station, one TV station to the other, just to get confirmation.
I tell people, don't tell me you reserve time to repent. You don't know how tonight will be.
Yes.
We take turns to suffer in the world. The day it happens to me is not the day it happens to you. That's just the difference.
We all have an appointment.
So let's try
that we must keep.
Let's try to live a good life in case a knock comes at night.
Yes.
You never know. 67 varsities produced 6,464 first-class graduates in 3 years. And I would say, good. But I hope they are all really first-class.
I would say,
yes,
materials.
The likelihood is that many of them are going to come from the sciences because it's not so easy in the arts to make a first class. Some of us tried, we didn't get there. And then the tendency for these first-class people to come from many of these new universities. I hope it's not a ploy to give parents the impression that things are very, that's the issue. I'm not judging them.
But it's okay.
I'm saying, please, let's make sure that really these people have sterling academic qualities. The Vanguard is saying that the minimum wage issue is one that Labour is saying that there's no way they are going to accept 100,000 naira from the government.
Is it not 48,000 now?
No, well, the argument now is no way we are going to accept 100,000. So the negotiation, I told you it's all about negotiation. When 615,000 was mentioned, I'm sure that Victor started dancing and prancing practically on the street. Maybe even on sand.
Actually, I didn't expect anything. I didn't expect anything otherwise, because some governors that are on the committee have not even paid their minimum wage of 30,000
Not even when it's confirmed.
I don't know. I hope I'm not sounding petty. Well, we don't retire. Now that they're giving them plenty money, yeah?
But they've increased your pension too.
But the point is, you must match earnings, what comes from the pocket, with the inflationary trend. Otherwise, the worker is going to stay forever in dire straits. So let them reach a good agreement, but let it not be one that makes inflation start galloping again.
Indeed.
They have
a kilo of meat now is now almost 7,000 naira.
That's precisely the point that the Anglican Prime Minister was making yesterday, that while a worker deserves his wages, everybody should be, both parties should be realistic.
Exactly.
You know, government should listen to Labour, even if it's not exactly what Labour is asking.
Yes.
But also,
Labour should also listen to government.
That it's not something that throws everybody
because you must work out the economics of it.
Yeah, you must.
Look at the other side of the coin. Manufacturers wail as unsold goods pile up in warehouses. And you say, oh dear, as cost of living rises, purchasing power drops. So?
Yes.
You know, now, in addition to take-home pay for individuals on consolidated salary structures the other day is quite commendable, because it's all movement towards increasing the purchasing power, you know. Then, of course, the minimum wage negotiations should also help that. But just as Victor mentioned now, an equilibrium. I keep on dropping this word. I'm sure it's the only thing I know in economics. You know, equilibrium should be reached in all of these matters. So otherwise, every one of us will be left holding the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
And it becomes a question of, is an ill wind that blows no one any good. 28 million 28 million housing deficit. And then you say, hey, I hope we don't become homeless people. I got to London. Which year was it? And I didn't know that there were homeless people in London as well.
Of course.
Everywhere.
They're everywhere, come to think of it. But what we should be thinking about here is, what kind of policies do we have concerning housing, mortgage loans and all that? You know, are they friendly? I was surprised in Houston, Texas. Somebody told me that you could pay back a housing loan for a 28-year...
Yeah.
30 years. I said, in that case, the Chukudis of this world would easily erect a structure. Take small money, pay this, another, you know. But how friendly is ours? Some of these private developers, I don't think they give you up to 10 years even.
No, they don't.
They don't. But when we really want to get serious about it, it's not just the ones that government has a hand in that should attract a longer tenor in terms of repayment period. It should also affect the private people.
Yes.
That is how good policies work.
Yes.
You know?
Okay.
That's it.
Chooks the boy, indeed, that's it.
Yeah, he was waiting for me to keep quiet.
We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Okay, guys.
So, conversation on the procurement of CNG vehicles, well, we'll have that after this time out.